My name's Rachel Adams, and I've been documenting the gay scene in Manchester for quite a few years. So I started in photography, really doing sort of clubbing, pictures and portraits. I have a friend who lives in Uganda, who told me that the community were organising their first gay pride, and so she invited me to go and stay and to cover the event. So I tried to get in touch with the organisers, and right at the last minute they got back and said, "Yeah, we'd love you to come and take photographs for our records, but it's a very delicate situation." So I booked a flight and went over. 2 weeks before, I think it was 2 weeks before Pride, so end of July.
I think the average gay person, at least, has suffered in the hands of a landlord who has a problem with him, having men come to his house, or him living with a man. The average gay person has suffered bullying, whether in school or at his workplace, or and by gay, I'm kind of categorizing everyone because I think the issues we face are the same. And the average gay person in Uganda has been threatened with violence, or the violence has actually he's been subjected to violence at some point in their lives. And it can be family, it can be um, in the social setup, it can be in a bar, it can be anywhere.
The build up to the Pride event was really quite nerve-wracking. I mean, so I was there for 2 weeks before Pride actually happened. In the first week, I was trying to get hold of people, and I wasn't very successful at all. It was quite difficult. Until three guys from the community got in touch with me and took me to their home and told me about their situation. And then the next week things started to come together a little bit. Um, but I mean, there were 4 days of Pride events. So the first, and they were all kind of hidden around the city. So as the actual Pride parade got closer, I mean, I started to get a little bit nervous because everybody was sort of unsure as to whether police were going to be there or not. Um, some people were saying there would be police presence, other people were saying there wouldn't be. And some people were saying that they knew about the event, that it would be fine. Some people were saying, no, no, it'll be, we have to be careful about who knows where it's going to be. So, I mean, I was there in Uganda for 2 weeks trying to cover this event. And I can't really speak for the organisers at all. I can just speak from my experience of trying to cover it as a journalist. But it was pretty nerve-wracking, yeah.
It's kind of hard to put everyone into a context, but the general feeling is one of fear. Like you don't know what will come tomorrow. When things start to get better, things get worse again. So it's like this continuous trend of fear and um, pessimism about the future. But I think that is our job as activists to try and level to an extent, make sure that the organizing be like is strengthened so that they have safe spaces to come to and learn from each other and share the experiences of violations and share their security tips, how they've survived some of these potential violence cases and hate crimes, just to have a space where they feel like their community and that they belong somewhere, because the general situation is the fact that this is a minority group, and most of them are outcasts in society, um, traditionally, culturally. It's like you're alienated from society. And even when we try to organize these these spaces, the government comes strongly to intimidate and try and shut down these organizations. Um, so in one way, we're trying to create spaces for the community to come together and have a feeling of belonging.
Everything kind of, the day of the parade went off quite well. We were in a public garden, or a public park, and the parade happened around the park without any hiccups. And then after the parade, everybody gathered at the shore, and we all ate and had a few beers, and there was a few words said up on stage. And then I was just kind of wandering around taking photographs. And my friend Morgan said, Rachel, come up quickly. The police have arrived. So I kind of walked up to the top of the hill with him, and there was a police truck there and some police officers. And I was just kind of walking around sort of casually, and one of the police and a guy came up to me. I think he was wearing a baseball cap and a white t-shirt, and he came up to me and he was asking me what I was doing, and I was kind of just trying to kind of half ignore him and not really answer properly, and just sort of in until so he was asking me a few questions, and then I said, he was asking me who I was, and I was like, well, who are you? And he got out his police or his identification and flashed it in my face, and then he was saying that he wanted to arrest me but it was never clear why. But he was accusing me of taking photographs, which obviously isn't an offence. And yeah, so he couldn't actually give a reason as to why he was arresting me, but everybody gathered around, and there was about half an hour, maybe three-quarters of an hour of trying to persuade this guy that there was no point in arresting me because I hadn't done anything wrong. But in the end, I couldn't really do anything about it except be taken to the police station on the back of a police scooter. And yeah, I mean, I was kind of questioned at the police station. They were concerned about my passport and how long I was staying there and what I was doing in the country. And I guess they were trying to think of something that they could arrest me for, but there wasn't any reason to arrest me. I mean, the police station was pretty tense. One guy was beaten up. A South African documentarian was beaten by one of the other police officers. And eventually somebody from the British military came to get me, because the soldier who had arrested me realised that he'd kind of made a mistake in that they couldn't arrest me. There was nothing they could arrest me for. And so when his superiors realised that, they phoned this guy from the British military to kind of come and get me out of there, as they said.
I met her, I was there during the process of her arrest by police. But also she got to experience a large part of, the fun parts, the beginning. And I know she met with a couple of politicians and was able to speak to them. So it was not just pride, it was also, what happened during the kind of advocacy, the kind of message we sent out to the public or the politicians, whoever got to know about it. Because I think the international community is saying, oh my God, you guys are amazing. But I guess the state is saying, what do we do more to like silence these people? Why won't they back down? Why won't they listen? But I think for us as a community, it was monumental. It was scary, but it was something that we took so much pride in. Like, we were able to organize as Ugandans, with support here and there, but in terms of organizing, in terms of the conceptualizing of the whole pride, we made it our own because it's not the traditional, you know, street pride. Would have wanted that, but at this point in Uganda, that is like a death. You're demanding for a death sentence, basically. You're demanding for people to stone you, possibly to death. Demanding for um, the police come and throw tear gas into the procession. You're basically demanding for. It's like you're saying, we're here, we're ready to die, and we're ready to face the consequences, but in a more aggressive way. So for us, the way the Pride was organized was more like let's do this pilot project, like a pilot project, and see how well it is received among the population itself. Is the community ready for Pride? Is the community ready for some of these events? And it's amazing how people got on board, and it's interesting that a large number of uh, the community which was involved, in preparations, in fundraising, was not at the final Pride. So it was like because of the fear and the uncertainty, they're like, okay, we shall be part of this initially, but then we can see pictures, we can see videos of you guys who are brave enough to, go out there. Even if we had tried to take as much security protection as possible.
I was quite naive, I think. I was told right away by another American who has worked with by an American anthropologist who's worked with the community for quite a few years that um, she made it clear very very early on that it was dangerous and that she didn't think that any media should be covering the event at all because if pictures get out into the wrong hands, people's lives are in danger because they're outed before they're ready to be outed. Um, so I was there to cover the event, and I thought it would make a great story. I thought it was a great story, and I wanted to publicize it or I wanted to document it. But yeah, I wasn't really that aware of how it might put people's lives in danger. So I've been really, really careful about where the pictures go, and who uses them. But then that's also, part of the problem. Like a lot of the activists very keen for their pictures to be used, and they're very out, and so they know they know the importance of the media and how international media can help the situation. So it has been. I mean, for me, it's been a really, really big ethical dilemma as to how these pictures are used. And it's really sort of the crux of the ethical kind of the paradox of photojournalism, I suppose, that you want to publicize, you want to tell stories, but these photographs can also put people's lives in danger. So it's really has been really, really difficult.
It is definitely going to be an annual event. Um, we shall celebrate Pride whenever. I mean, with everyone else in the world because it might be in a different way. It might be in jail. It might be on the streets of Kampala with tear gas. It might be it might be at a house party. It's depending on what it is that is relevant or what it is that we're ready to do at that time. We're going to do it. It's like you're proud, and no matter what happens tomorrow, if potentially your landlord sees you in that match or your parents disown you for having been involved, but at least for that day you were able to experience the pride of being an LGBT Ugandan person in a relatively safe space before, the retaliation that is bound to come always comes.